probably half of the world, and this is crazy because in our world it's 100%, but in the rest of the world, half of it, they don't ponder the significance of something else. They're in a 2D existence. They're driving to work. They're paying the insurance. They're covering the rent or the mortgage. They come home at night, watch the news, have dinner, go to bed, rinse, repeat, do it all over again.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's that. And so if the synchronicity happens to somebody like that, it's put it in a box.
Right now on Higher Journeys with Alexis Brooks.
All right, guys, we're starting this show a little bit differently today. This is not going to work, Jimmy. Jimmy, you know the tricks of the trade, as you were talking with Mr. Robert Clotworthy yesterday on your own show. See what I'm doing, guys? What am I doing, Jimmy?
Yeah, and you know what? Let me tell you what's funny about that, Adrian. I don't know if you caught that last night, but Robert Clotworthy, who is the voice of Ancient Aliens, of course, and Oak Island, and so many other TV shows, but he's also a great actor too, as well. He's done a lot of stuff on screen. But from one, voice to another, I'd asked him last night if he did any voice exercises before recording. And he said yes. And then he said one of the tricks that he had learned was putting a pencil in your mouth and then speaking and trying to speak. And then when you take it out, you can you speak correctly. And it was one of the funny. I know all. I don't know all of them, obviously, after last night. But there are a few things that people do that speak a lot for exercises before going live or recording. And one of them is it's called the tip of the tongue. And the tip of the tongue, I don't want to just string this out, but the tip of the tongue is you take the tip of your tongue and you push it on your back front teeth. And you push it hard. And you do that for a few minutes, relax, do it again, relax, do it again. And then your tongue, suddenly it's amazing because after that, like right now, I can suddenly talk, right? You can talk, and it's a weird thing. And then once you get in the habit of doing this, if you don't do it, you're guaranteed to screw up.
Right.
I mean, it's just a guarantee because it's a mind, it's a mind thing. It's a really strange, but Clotworthy, here's what's so amazing about him. His voice is unique, and he's been doing 20 seasons of Oak Island, and now he's Skinwalker Ranch and Ancient Aliens. That he's in everybody's head. People recognize him out of the gate, and I tell this story, and I'll do it here. I put a gym upstairs. Adrian's been to my house many times, and I have this large area upstairs that I ended up putting. It's a nice gym. I put a gym in there, but I found out that working out sucks. Can't do it. Can't do it. No place to put your vodka shot glasses when you're on the treadmill and things like that. And so I kid, not really. But so getting in there, and I couldn't figure out, and I thought, I need a distraction. So then I went one step further, had a TV mounted on the wall with surround sound. And the first day I come in and I get out the remote and I'm scanning through and I find Skinwalker Ranch. And I hadn't watched it yet. This is a couple of years ago. And and I turn on Skinwalker Ranch, and I've got Clotworthy narrating. There is a place in Utah, right?
That's pretty good. Hey,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
you
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Watch
yeah,
out,
yeah.
Robert.
And I was in the zone.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got Clotworthy. Well, and so I go through, and that was the magic of working out. Suddenly, I can be distracted for an hour. Right, the show is an hour long, and that's running in the background, and I can go and do all of my stuff. And I called Robert, and I told him the whole story, and he's laughing about it. But that's the reaction that the rest of the world gets.
No question.
You know, yeah. He
Yeah.
is just there for everybody. You hear his calm, cool voice. It's a voice of reason. And I think that has a lot to do with the success of Oak Island, the success of Ancient Aliens, of course, and the success of Skinwalker Ranch is that Clotworthy is there. When I say voice of reason, he just sounds like the guy that you want to help you understand something.
Absolutely. Very
And that's what
convincing.
he does.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He's amazing.
Well,
He's
thank you for
absolutely
that. I
amazing.
hope his ears are burning. Maybe we'll have him on one of these days. I'll tell you, Journeyers, one of the things that myself, as well as Jimmy, and of course, Mr. Clotworthy have in common is that we do voiceover. We do voiceover work. And, I have to tell a little story that a few years ago, a contact in the desert, I had tugged on Mr. Giorgio's coattails. And I was like, hey, that guy that's on Ancient Aliens, I can do that. You need a woman. You need a woman. He was like, "You're right. Okay, Alexis. Anyway, onto this. That ain't
Get
happening.
in line. Get in line. I'm telling you right now.
Listen, I love
Get in
him
line.
though.
Get in line. I have put my
Well,
name
can I
in
cut
that
in?
hat
Yeah.
many
What's
times.
Adrian?
Alexis,
Everyone,
if you were
Adrian
going to
Vallera.
take that, thank you. If you were going to take that job, name a one catchphrase you would use in depicting some of the thing. He has some he used them last night on your show, and it was so cool hearing them in his voice. But come on, you're on Ancient
Catchphrase.
Aliens.
You're putting me on the spot. How about if I give it a little bit of a think, and I'll let y'all know in an upcoming
the astronaut
episode.
theory.
Hey, listen, you guys. This is like so atypical for how we do Higher Journeys. But as I was prepping for the interview, I had this last minute epiphany. I'm like, you know what? I saw the open to Jimmy's wonderful Fade to Black episode last night with Mr. Clotworthy and company, and I said, you know what? We're gonna start it like this. We're gonna make this fun because I tell you what. Things are far too serious. I think my company here today would agree on this planet. We're always looking at the heaviness and experiencing a lot of the heaviness of life. And we do a lot of that on the show. But today I thought we take it from fun, guys, to a bit of the bizarre, to a bit of the serious, to back to the fun. And I will explain. So first, I want, Jimmy Church. Y'all know Jimmy. Jimmy has been ubiquitous, I think I will say, in the last several years. He's been for a while, but particularly these days. But we are joined by, can I say Jimmy's partner in crime, partner in projects, Mr. Adrian Vallera, with, you see the gold and platinum records behind him. Adrian, introduce yourself to our Journeyer audience and tell us about who you are, what you do, what the heck you're doing with Mr. Church. Tell us.
Wow, we're creating.
Keep it clean.
Trouble.
Keep it clean. Yeah, keep it clean.
We're
Adrian.
causing some trouble out there. No, it's so yeah. My name's Adrian Vallera. Been a long time in the music industry and trying to bring consciousness within there. And fast forwarding to starting this amazing platform called Disclosure Fest Foundation that does these some of the world's largest mass meditations and encouraging people to be of service to our communities, our home-free communities, our planet, our children, in different various initiatives. But Jimmy, from day one, when I introduced the idea of this platform, Jimmy was one of the first, actually the first person to jump on and support this. And since then, our festival's grown to over 20,000 people. And he's been there every single year. So like Jimmy is just this brother that kind of just jumped on this Disclosure Fest train, and then I jumped on the Fade to Black train, and we just been cycling through. And then I approached Jimmy with this amazing idea that came to me through a meditation transmission to do an event in Vegas at the Luxor Hotel. And I talked to the only person I thought of to talk to is Jimmy. And Jimmy's like, yes, we're going to do it. But I mean, that's a fast forwarded version, and we're doing this amazing event at the Luxor in Las Vegas, called Stairway to the Stars. It's brought to you by Disclosure Fest Foundation and Fade to Black. And this is so exciting that we're able to do something as a first time event, create so much excitement to have Gaia and some of our other sponsors like Lila Quantum Technology, and be able to put together such an event for a first time event and get all the veteran vendors, all the veteran speakers, and the profile in such a place like Las Vegas on the Vegas Strip, and have so much excitement around it as a first time event. It's just been such an amazing thing. But what else could you ask for with people like Jimmy and yourself and Gaia and everyone else? So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now this is where I jump in. This is where I kind of I'm going to take control of this situation. Adrian's being very humble. So let me tell a short version of the real story.
Oh my gosh.
If you have, and this is for everybody listening to Higher Journeys right now. Now, I've known Alexa for a long time, and 10 years. So everybody listening to Alexa right now and her show, listen to me very carefully. If you have a dream, you do. If you have bliss that you're searching for, and you do, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are those that do and those that don't. And if you have an idea, if you have a desire, if you have that bliss inside of you, and only you know what it is, go and do it. Because if you don't, your inside is going to be unhappy. And you want to be happy. You need to go and chase your bliss and get it done. With Adrian, in the very, very beginning, Adrian and I were standing together talking, and he goes, I got this idea. And I said, okay, well, what is it? Well, I want to get together. I want, people, and I want to develop a foundation, and I want to put on an event and bring everybody together consciously. And I said, okay. That was the very origination of not only Disclosure Fest, but Adrian chasing his bliss. And I turned to him and I said, dude, let's do it. We're going to do this. So it went from a conversation between friends to the next year. We had, I think we had 5,000 people there.
Yep.
Now, the next year, 10,000, the next year, 15,000, the next year, 20,000. All of that doesn't happen if you don't go and do it and get it done. It was just two people just flapping jaws, Alexis. That's all it was. But everybody does it. Man, I want to go and do, but you don't do it. And so when we step back and we look at where the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, an event like this has never been done. It goes back to a conversation. Should we? This is the idea. It's Egypt. It's consciousness. It's the Luxor. It's the pyramid. And there's reasons why Adrian chose specifically that location. Maybe we'll get into that. Maybe we won't. That part doesn't may not be involved in this conversation. But anyway, he settled on that. We focused on that and got it done. What's the other choice? There's only one other choice. Okay, flap jaws, talk about it, dream, and don't do it.
I think that's a great point. I think
that's what most people do. Yeah,
it's the foundation. Yeah. It's the foundation of us all.
Right.
And I don't want to be, and nobody listening and watching this program right now, you don't want to be in a position of, in your twilight years, that at the end of your higher journey on this beautiful blue gem, and what happens after happens after. But your journey here, you don't want to be at that point going, man, I really wanted to make shoes. That was my dream in life. I wanted to be the best shoe designer. I had things, and I didn't do it. And that's being unhappy. And so whatever it is that burns inside of you, and only you know that secret, you don't tell people about it. It's your own little private thing. Go and do it, because that's the magic that makes you happy. You find your bliss, and then everything comes to you.
Absolutely.
Just like Disclosure Fest.
And Jimmy, as our main man, Seth, would say, YCYOR, you create your own reality. YCCYOR, you consciously create your own reality. So on that note, I think this is a great segue. This is the manifestation, the beauty that you're about to witness in November. Let's take a look at this.
Join us November 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2023 as Disclosure Fest Foundation and Fade to Black Radio presents Stairway to the Stars, a Human Origins Science and Technology Expo, live at the Luxor Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip. With live talks, lectures, and workshops by world-acclaimed researchers and authors. This is Jimmy Church, by the way, and I'll be your host all weekend long, featuring topics like human origins, ancient technologies, indigenous teachings, workshops, a mass meditation, yoga and sound healing, music, and so much more. Don't miss our intimate Skywatch and meteor shower over the infamous Area 51 airspace in Rachel, Nevada, with special surprise celebrity hosts guiding us through the night. Also introducing our Disclosure Fest VR Starship area with dozens of rides. You've got to check it out. This event will sell out. For more information and tickets, please visit disclosurefest.org.
Love it. And I'm going to say right now, Jimmy, you may not know about this, but I got special permission. Guys, listen, we are not going to do an after show today over on Patreon, but we're going to do something even a little bit more special. Disclosure Fest Foundation and Adrian have been kind enough to let us give away 3 one-day passes to this upcoming event. Yes.
Can I get in on that action?
Yeah, right. There you go. And you'll get to meet Jimmy and yours truly, because I'll be speaking at this as well. I'm so honored to be a part of this. So head on over to Patreon. We'll have details in the description below. You know how that works.
Yeah,
So,
very cool.
All right.
Very
all
cool.
right.
Very
So
cool.
here we go. That was a big old promo.
Speaking of, Alexis, what are you speaking on? Can you give us a little?
Oh, I knew that was going to come up.
tidbit?
Well, we're going to be talking about
Don't
the
give away
contact.
too much.
I would listen. I can't give away 90 minutes worth. This is something, you guys, that I've been talking about for quite some time, and I actually have lectured on this prior to this occasion in Australia, as well as here in the States, having to do with unconscious contact. Are you an experiencer and you're unaware of it? Are you oblivious to the fact that you may have been in contact with non-human intelligence perhaps your whole life? So you guys, this will be an in-depth deep dive into this possibility. I make no claims, of course, of this being definitively the case, but I have often asked the question, Jimmy and Adrian, could the contact phenomenon be far more widespread to the unwitting public? And if so, what would be the clues? And I go pretty deep into the clues. Some of them are a little on the lighter side. We talk about phobias that may be an entry point, but we also talk about things as serious as childhood trauma, human caused, that might be a door opener. So that is the sort of, little thumbnail of what I'll be talking about. And it continues to unfold and unravel. Will we ever know definitively? I don't know, but I think it's something worth talking about. So that's what I'll be talking about there. So
you know what's interesting about that, Alexa, and you're right about this, by the way. Okay, now it may be a theory of yours, or maybe it's confirmed for you personally, but I have spoken about this in a more esoteric way. I just want people to think. I believe, and this is from my own personal experience, I believe that contact experiences, paranormal experiences, supernatural experiences, time travel, weird things happen all the time.
Absolutely.
And you observe it, and then you put it in a box, put it on the shelf, and you move on with your day, and it's forgotten about. And things have happened throughout your whole life that you've just forgotten about because life ends up getting in the way. And if you go back and just try to get back into your memory and go back to a specific experience that seemed a little bit off and unpack it and take a look at it. It was probably something pretty nuts, but you just put it away. And people do this all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I've gone back and especially since doing what I do now, where I like to tell stories and experiences, and so I'll just sit and go, what about that one time? And let's do this. So I'll share this with you. I'll give you a perfect example of this. So I'm 9 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, 1972. I was born in 63. So 1972, 1971. I'm in Chicago and living with my mom. And our apartment was across the street from our elementary school, Clearview Elementary in Waukegan, which sat up on this little rise, this little hill, but it was right in front of our house in a big schoolyard. And it's the middle of the summer, and I'm crossing the street to go hang out with my friends. There's a playground, there's, hundreds of kids. It's the summer, and I'm just starting my summer day to go across the street and jump into the madness. And as I cross the street above me, something catches my eye. So I look up, and it's the Hindenburg. It's the best way I can describe it. It's a airship with the ridges on it. It's not the Goodyear blimp, it's just smooth. It's got the ridges and things, and it's low, and I'm looking, I could see the dudes in the gondola. I can see people. And I'm looking, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. So I turn around and I chase it for like 5 minutes and all the way across the schoolyard until it goes over the trees and goes away. All right. Now, that's it. That's the story. I forgot about it. I did go back and draw it many times. And things. Later, the movie The Hindenburg comes out. I was like, wow. Okay, so now fast forward to today, and that memory popped in my head, and I thought to myself, I got to Google this new thing called the Interbox, right? Okay, so I jump on Google to find out what that was that I saw. So I type in airship, Chicago 1972, boom, pop it in, and I find out that there are no Zeppelins in the world. I find out that there were no Zeppelins on planet Earth since 1937. After the Hindenburg crash, the Zeppelin company that built these things went out of business. The United States Navy had 3, the Akron, the Ohio, and the Los Angeles. 2 crashed in 1937, and the third one was dismantled after the Hindenburg crash. The United States Navy had none. The United States had none. The rest of the world had none since 1937. So I sat back, and I was so confused about this. And I sat back and I thought, now, what did I see that day in 1937? I can tell you it wasn't the Goodyear blimp because I can read. And it would have said Goodyear, And I would have said to myself, oh, wow, the Goodyear blimp. Now, what was it?
Okay, so I'm going to stop you. You said Freudian slip. What'd you say? You just said, what did I see in 1937? So here's the first thing I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
Did
yes,
listen?
yeah, yeah.
Did you
Right,
ever
right.
consider that it could have been a time slip?
Yes. And that's exactly my point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly my point. What happened?
Right.
What happened that day? There are so many things here. First off, to find out that there weren't any rigid airships in the world since 1937, that put me in the check position.
Wow.
Like, okay, I need to check myself here. And now, what was it? I don't know. Was it a time slip? I didn't notice anything around me looking older. So did I go back in time? My school was still there. So, or was it a time traveler from the past showing up? Was there some kind of vortex going on? All of that, I don't know. The facts of the case are exactly as I'm presenting it to you now. And I forgot about it.
Right.
I forgot about it since 1972. I
But
didn't
it
go back
came back
and think
to
about that.
So it came back
to
to
me.
you. And this
Yeah,
is this now we're taking this in a whole nother direction, but I said let this conversation go where it needs to go for the highest good of all involved. So we will continue on this track. Jimmy, you may have forgotten about it at the time, my dear, but look at who you are and who you've become. You're naturally inquisitive. You ask big questions. You have entrenched yourself in understanding the nature of reality. So I'm going to correct you just ever so slightly in terms of the masses and the anomalies that they experience and why I would say most of them don't reapproach or further explore what they're experiencing. It could be forgetfulness and it could be denial. I mean, look, in the work that we do, me as a researcher in the strange and unusual, I have talked to countless individuals who have said to me, Alexis, this happened to me. I saw it, but I'm not going to believe in it. I'm not going to further investigate. I'm afraid. I think this goes very deep into the psyche of the human and, of course, the indoctrination against this sort of phenomena and looking deeper into it. So I dare say that there is an element of, we call it cognitive dissonance, right? You may have forgotten about it, but something in the recesses of your mind and because of the way you're wired said, I'm going to explore this. I'm going to explore this.
100%. When you have somebody like, and by the way, we have another guest here. His name's Adrian Vallera.
That's right. Adrian, jump in, man.
Yeah, but here's another situation where it addresses head on what you're referring to. The scientific community, and I'll bring up somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? He's an easy target. He is no different than Adrian or you. He has things that happen around him, synchronicities, things, paranormal events, maybe he's seen a ghost, whatever. But he's going to be in denial about that. He is going to go, no, there's nothing strange to ponder here. I have a scientific mind. I'm not going there. And he puts it away on the shelf and dismisses it because of the reasons that you just stated. And I'm sure that happens all the time.
Right.
Where probably, probably half of the world, and this is crazy because in our world, it's 100%. But in the rest of the world, half of it, they don't ponder the significance of something else. They're in a 2D existence. They're driving to work. They're paying the insurance. They're covering the rent or the mortgage. They come home at night, watch the news, have dinner, go to bed, rinse, repeat, do it all over again.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's that. And so if a synchronicity happens to somebody like that, it's put in a box.
Right.
Right.
Well,
it's dismissed.
Interestingly, this is one of the areas that I explore and will explore in our lecture, and that has to do with how denial and vehement denial at that may actually be a clue to contact. I have actual cases, and I was so blessed to be able to interview so many people for this lecture, including Barbara Lamb, Steve Mera, who, Jimmy, I know you met over at Awakening, great researchers. But particularly Barbara Lamb, who talked about, I'll give this away, a gentleman who would attend religiously a MUFON meeting, local MUFON in the Los Angeles area that Barbara, I believe, was running at the time. And this guy would show up every week or whenever the meetings were, simply to debunk what was being said at those meetings. And it was almost as if that was his serum. That was what he wanted to do, until he himself had an epiphany. I think he knew all along that the denial, this vehement denial, was really driving him to the realization that he was an experiencer and is an experiencer. So I go into that. As well. Look, we're talking about some deep psychological issues that we, particularly in the Western world, have when it comes to these sorts of things. And there will be many people that will leave this planet that will never have a need to look into these things further. But fortunately, there are a lot of us that do. Hence the reason.
Well,
I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah, let Adrian.
Well, let me just wrap this up, and then Adrian, the stage is
I was
yours.
going to speak on the same thing.
The most spiritual person on this planet, more spiritual than the Dalai Lama, is Neil deGrasse Tyson when the plane's going down. He's just like, I got it all wrong. I mean, I guarantee that's how things will eventually play out. Adrian,
I want to know about
touch on this as well, because it's really like prominent in our lives right now. Like you bringing up what you faced in your childhood or experienced in your childhood with this Hindenburg thing, and this like feeling like you phased into another dimension almost. And what we're experiencing right now in this current time is this acceleration process that everyone's feeling. I know everyone's feeling this. And it feels almost like we are shifting through multiple timelines in a very rapid pace. I mean, for instance, like, and I don't know, this is something just Christy and I were sitting here in our office, and we ordered some food, and she hears the doorbell and runs down and comes back up, and then I go down for something else, but this doorbell is so prominent. She was in a dimension where she actually heard the doorbell and it actually rang, and I was in another dimension. That's what it felt like. So touching on some of this stuff and bringing like experiencer realities in it, I think it's such a great thing to talk about, because there's so much that happens, like you said, and then also in like our dreams, that can bring us back to some of these experiencer memories, and now these time dimension jumps. So it's really amazing that you're going to speak on that, and I think a lot of people, it's going to help them kind of realize a little bit of what's been going on, because it's like whatever you've been feeling 5 years ago to 3 years ago to 2 years ago to what, and right now it's just very fast,
accelerated. Well, this is a very common conversation. Thank you for that, Adrian. I also want to pick your brain a little bit, or hear a little bit more about your own experience into the strange and unusual. I know you've got something to share. I'm sure you do. But before we go there, I want to just piggyback on what you're saying, that look, whatever is happening, whatever is triggering this, we call it acceleration, or certainly a paradigm shift in frequency and energy, is in fact turning people on their ear when it comes to their notion of reality. I can't tell you the people that I hear from on a day-to-day basis who are having all manner of experience that they've never had before, and really, thankfully, feeling the need to want to talk about it, to quantify it, to understand it. The nature of reality is bizarre. It's fundamentally bizarre. And we're trying to unfurl it. As Richard Feynman famously said, it does no harm to the mystery to know a little bit about it. And I think that's one of the things that we need to make it our business to do, because, as I always say, we have skin in the game, because we're part of the experience. So, yeah. Adrian, tell us a story of yours. I'm going to put you on the spot. You got something bizarre to share with us? Other than the fact that you hang out with Jimmy and you get his story.
You know what? I'll tell an Adrian story. Okay, so check this out.
Want to tell?
while he's thinking about,
he tells them better than I do.
One of the Adrian and I hang out a lot, and we've done a lot of things together. It's what best friends do. But one night, and I can't remember the reason why we did this, but we end up over at my house, and we're hanging out, And we decide, Adrian's like, hey man, let's do a sky watch, man. Let's call in some ships. And so I get out the night vision goggles. We're
It's amazing
just,
night, by the way.
yeah. It was a perfectly. I live in the desert, in the Mojave Desert, and no light pollution, and I've got a pretty cool backyard that's big and stuff, and it's private. So anyway, so we're in the backyard and we fire this thing up, and this is probably, the sun is setting. So I'm going to guess it is about 8 o'clock at night, somewhere in there, 8 o'clock, 8:30. And we make our first contact. And a few seconds later, we saw something else. And then and it went until 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was so crazy that night with what we were seeing, and just weird things and exploding things and lighting up things and crisscrossing things every few seconds. And it got to the point, it was so insane that we were timing it. We would go 10, 9, 8, and Adrian would go, I got something. While he's doing that, he's back. He'll do the countdown. 10, 9. I got something. 10, 9, 8. I got something. And we did this for 5 or 6 hours. I would say by the end of the night, I don't have a definitive count, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 3, 4, 500 objects that evening.
You know that you brought that up. It really prompted when we were putting together Stairway to the Stars to try to find a plot of land like outside of Area 51 and repeat this. So that is what brought on that part of Stairway to the Stars, where you can purchase a separate ticket, go on a bus ride to Area 51. We got this 10 acres, 3 miles outside of the gates of Area 51, and we got 4 buses going there, and each bus has a separate speaker talking about their research on Area 51. And then when you get there, we're going to repeat the same thing. We got multiple screens connected to 3rd gen plus military night vision spec goggles and telescopic lenses. And since we're in Area 51 airspace, we can't laser point in the sky because we'll just get dropped in by Black Hawk or something. So we have these screens that are going to show every angle of the sky in the most amazing night vision military freaking Skywatch ever. So Jimmy's going to be there. We're just going to invite our star family.
Speaking of night vision goggles, and I hope someone lets me borrow somebody's, because I don't have any. Which ones do you recommend? I know that there's so many on the market. Is there one particular kind you would recommend?
You're better at that. I know the 3rd gen plus.
Yeah. You want an analog, not digital. The digital ones are fine if you're on a budget, and you can pick those up, for $300, $400, $500 online. The more you spend on the digital, the better you're going to get. What you want to get are analog tube, military grade, Gen 2, Gen 3 goggles. Now, it's a different price point, but what you end up seeing is incredible. And I do this all the time, Alexis. I was just out in Palm Springs with Billy Carson a couple of weeks ago, and we did a private thing out there, private event, Skywatch. And so I've got all of my gear, and I love this reaction I get from somebody that's never looked through the Gen 2s or the Gen 3s before. I tell everybody the same thing. Look up with your eyes. Look at the stars. Okay. Now, you got it? I got it. Now look. I can't really say on the air what comes out of their mouth.
I can imagine.
Right. But it is a WTF moment. and to watch them react. Now try to get the goggles back out of their hands. You can't do it. But that the difference is, so you look up on a clear night, you can see 5,000 stars. Then technically that's what's in your range of view. If you counted every single one and it's a clear night, 5,000 stars. Night vision goggles, you put those on, you go from 5,000 to 250,000. And to see 250,000 stars in your vision, it's insanity. It's great. But then, so the whole point to doing this is you're used to everything being static, right? Stars stay in position. And you're sitting there and you're looking, and then you see something moving across the sky. You pull the night vision down, it's not there. You put the night vision back on and you track it again. That's the phenomenon. Knowing that when you're just hanging out with your friends and family and you're doing your thing, that stuff is moving around in the sky, but you can't see it. And nobody can. And that's so Gen 2, Gen 3, if you can afford it.
We'll do some research and put some links. I know a lot of people are interested. I have promoted one that Caroline Corey had recommended. I can't call offhand, but listen, this is a conversation that definitely is going where it needs to go. Jimmy, this brings us back to what we were just talking about, and that has to do with what the naked eye has the ability to see, what we call the visible spectrum, which is insignificant as to what is out there. And, imagine if our lenses behaved like these Gen 1, Gen 2 military grade night vision goggles. We might self-implode from too many WTF moments. But this somehow connects into the conundrum that we may be in. The fact that, people say, I have to see it to believe it. Well, you know what? You can see it. And imagine when some of the phenomena, like what you saw when you were a child, whatever it was, you saw with your naked eye, or you experienced at some level with what you thought was your naked eye. We've got lenses on, we've got blinders on, literally, because we're not afforded the larger part of that visible spectrum. What are your thoughts on that? Adrian, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you kind of brought it up a lot, and then within this, I mean, we did, with Jimmy talking about manifesting, with getting into some of the experiencer stuff, because we are connected to the universe and we are part of this oneness. And when we fall into our dream states, where it's a whole nother visionary path that we're in, that, the spectrum, when you tap into really doing the inner work, you start activating all these different parts that have been dormant for so many years. And by doing so, that's when things just can start appearing, like this multidimensional spectrums, some knickknacks that you left around when you were a kid, but all of a sudden they're popping up in your mind. Like, there's reasons for all that. So it's really just a reawakening all these dormant parts of universal being. I would say that's the best way to look at it.
I think that's what's happening now with a lot of people. Hence the reason people are wanting to talk about it more, because there's some kind of activation that's going on, whether it's self-initiated or, the planet itself, the universe itself is sort of busting open. So interesting times indeed. Let's move on. I wanted to touch on the Las Vegas thing, you guys. Remember that event? Speaking of Las Vegas, that's where the action's happening, apparently. Back in April, excuse me, is when the event took place. This strange, family that called in. Well, first of all, there was a light streaking across the sky. Many believe it was a meteorite. But then right after that was this call in from, I believe, a teenage boy nearby who he and his family claimed to have seen an alien 8, 9, 10 feet tall. We followed this for a little while. This was in April, but interestingly, didn't come out till June. Interestingly, right on the heels or right before the Grush admission. I just figured we'd spend a few minutes on that. These stories go away so quickly, replaced by other stories. But I think that this is worthy of a little bit of discussion 3 months after the fact. Jimmy, I know you covered this. Where did you leave off with this bizarre case?
Well, when the case broke, the situation, I'm going to compress this down into something very quick, but in a nutshell, two brothers were in the backyard at around midnight, working on their truck, dismantling the engine kind of thing, and they had a bunch of stuff going on in the backyard. And hood is raised on the truck, and they're working on the truck when they see something in the sky, catches their attention, and it lands in their backyard. Flying saucer, can't use a better word, so let's leave it at that. Flying saucer lands in their backyard. They freak out. They run in the house and they grab their parents, who are religious. Okay, that plays a part in this. Flying saucer just landed in the backyard. They go out in the backyard with their dad to check this out when they encounter what they described as a 7 or 8 foot tall alien being hissing. Okay, and that's how they described it. The kid goes back in the house, grabs his cell phone, and calls 911. Now, that's where, for me, the case gets very interesting, because without that, it's just a story, right? So they call the police. The police dispatch. And so what accompanies this story from the two brothers and the father and the mother is the police showing up at the house, interviewing the parents, and then going into the backyard to see what's up. Also dispatched and released were the video of other police officers driving around the neighborhood asking people if they saw a UFO, if they've seen an alien running around in the backyards. So the parents, while they were waiting, so all of this is part of the press release that came out, the video. The parents, while they are waiting for the police to arrive, are in the house listening to footsteps on the roof of the house, and they start praying. They think, demons. That's where they're going with this. The brothers then go back out. There's some shaky cell phone footage of this creature in the backyard. It's pretty interesting, but the case itself, the story itself, goes completely viral, and it was right on the heels of the congressional hearing that we had in Washington. There were a few other breaking UFO stories that were happening at the same time at an official level. And in the middle of all of this Las Vegas thing occurs. And it was a very strange, I would say for me, that 2 weeks, it was a pretty chaotic UFO reporting period, where we had everything happening and breaking at the same time, and Las Vegas played a part of it. Now, what I will say, with all of the media coverage, and it was a big story, everybody was talking about it, it went away as fast as it came.
Absolutely.
That was just really weird. It just disappeared. I remember Adrian is involved in this. I was sitting like I do every day. I start off my morning with an espresso on my back patio, and I let the sunlight hit my face, and I activate my body. Yeah, all right. I'm a crystal hugging hippie, but that's what I do, and I can't. My body doesn't turn on.
He admits it on the air.
Yeah, it makes it on the air. I need that serotonin, melatonin shift activation that happens with sunlight. So anyway, I'm doing that. I get this text from Adrian. Dude, Las Vegas, have you seen this? Because Adrian and I, we talk every single day. We plan, and and get things that we're very, 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 very busy on all fronts with a lot of different projects we've got going on. And so I get this text from Adrian, which I'm expecting. It comes in every day. I got something I got to deal with Adrian. I got some fire I got to put out, or a fire I've got to create, or a fire he's got to create. And I'm like, what? And that's how I got the news. Adrian heard about it first, and it went viral. And it was covered on the Las Vegas local news.
George Knapp interviewed him,
George
right?
Knapp, George Knapp, and then took off on YouTube and Twitter and went completely bananas nuts. And then, as quickly as it came, it just it disappeared. And now I know I'm taking over this show, and I don't intend to do that. Yeah, I do. That's what happens, though, in the UFO community.
Yeah,
It's never a dull moment. As soon as you think you've heard it all, something else happens. And it's just like this all the time. Tonight on, okay, can I do a disclaimer? We're taping this. This is not live. Yeah, I normally I do live shows. So I'm live. I don't get a chance to go back and see myself because it's in the ether and it's gone. I move on to the next show. but tonight on Fade to Black, we're taping this show on the 26th. I had to check the date. How bad is life when you got to do that? Today's the 26th. On the show tonight, I have Mike Herrera. And he is an official whistleblower, and who has interfaced with the Senate Intelligence Committee. He has been interviewed. He has done all of those official things that you do as a whistleblower does. And ex-Marine, former Marine, very serious background, and he's coming forward. And it's like David Grush and the Mexico City and the Congress there and Congress and the media. There's always something going on, and I think that whistleblowers and of the official type coming forward is a really, really big deal. And Mike told me again, like there's never a dull moment, right? There just isn't. Mike had told me at dinner last week. We were somewhere in the country and went out to dinner. And I said, "So why now?" And he said, I'm coming forward because of the Gillibrand Amendment and the whistleblower protections that were placed in there and part of the legislation and law. So I felt safe. It's been a rocky road. There's been crazy things and threats that have gone on in my life, but at least I know that was there for people like me to come forward. And I have many former teammates and people that I've worked with over the years that are also now in the position of coming forward and talking about this. Right. So never a dull moment in the UFO community.
No doubt. Well, I think the timing, look, I mean, we've had every manner of conversation about what the possible, if there is a motive, if there is a planted narrative that they wish to put out there, because the timing of first the Grush report with the debrief, and then News Nation covered it back to back, wall to wall, while we were at Contact in the Desert. Mind you, it was the last day. Jimmy, you missed it this year. I know you were otherwise occupied, but yeah, this is another conversation, of course, we could have. It's been quiet for a little while, which I also find quite interesting, maybe even a little bit suspect as to why it's been so quiet. Are they ramping up for the next slew of news stories?
Well,
I don't know.
You say quiet. I don't know. This
relatively.
We just had NASA do a UFO hearing press conference last week.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what. But that's back to your point and what I was saying. There's never a dull moment, And it's gotten to the point where now we're counting the days since the last action. Right? It's like that.
Yeah.
Alexis, that's
It-
where we
Whatever
are.
the motivation is. Yeah.
It totally is a roller coaster time
Yeah.
period within disclosure. And one of the things I just want to just say at this moment, because it's so important, is, there's so much disclosure happening all at once, all over the world, and it's important that our community within ourselves, and then ourselves, that we're actually taking this information, but then also, sorry guys, and then also taking the time to do the inner work, because when we're discovering all of this stuff, again, it's all out. All this stuff is outer. And what we've been really, sorry guys, it's my office.
See, Adrian is such a player. That's Mick Jagger calling, and he's just hanging up on him.
But
He's a player.
seriously, though, let me get this point out.
Adrian's a player. Adrian's a player.
Let me get this. It's going to ring again. But let me get this point out, because it's so important right now, because there's so much going on, to find the time to do the inner work. We all are these creators that we've forgotten that we are. And Jimmy reminded us. Jimmy Church talked about going outside and basking in the sun in the morning on this show. I never thought I'd hear it. But this is the time to do that work, because if we don't, then we're just out. Our energy is focused outward, and then inward, what lies within us. We have the whole universe in ourselves, and we're not taking that dive in. So that's how I want to leave everyone. Without
I just got a text from Mick Jagger. Tell Adrian to pick up his phone. So Adrian, I'm just telling you right now. Well, but see, one of the great things about Stairway to the Stars and Disclosure Fest and the Foundation, yes, it's a great event. It's Las Vegas. It's the Luxor. But the foundation is about planting trees, feeding the homeless, cleaning beaches, and meditation and awareness and so much more. That's what is important here. And what is drawn to this is everybody is on their personal, I'm going to say it, higher journey. There is a reason they are here. I don't know what all those reasons are. It's a personal thing, but people are seeking knowledge. They want to hang out with other people that they can discuss and talk and make friends with in an environment where it's okay to do that. And when you look at Stairway to the Stars, we've got indigenous panels. We've got an AI panel. We've got an ancient aliens panel. We've got these different, completely, that would seem to the uninitiated not related.
But they are.
It's all related, and it is all connected. The indigenous cultures, not only here in North, Central, and South America, but around the world, whether we're talking about Egypt or ancient Sumer, Mesopotamia, or India, China, Japan, Russia, it doesn't matter. Pick a location. The ancients had that conscious connection. They understood how to use the mind. They understood, Alexis, you brought this up, how to see those other dimensions, how to feel those auras, how to see those auras, how to hear, how to connect, how to communicate. We as humans have amnesia, and we've forgotten about all of that. There are people on this planet that can still do that, that have the ability to reach out, to see, to feel, and to communicate at another level of consciousness that science has a difficult time trying to measure, trying to see, and trying to observe. And that's what collectively is coming together November 10th, 11th, and 12th in Las Vegas for Stairway to the Stars and this event. Everybody there, no matter what your background or why you are attending, is connected to everybody else. And that's the beautiful part about our event in November.
Could you ask for a better spokesperson? Do I need to say anything else? I don't think so. By the way, the show is brought to you by Jimmy Church and Fade to Black. This show is hosted, in fact, by Jimmy Church. Lord have mercy. Jimmy, you know I love you, man. Hey, listen, this is Adrian. You talk to this guy every day, really? He talks to you.
It's the first.
He talks to
It's the first. Adrian and I. It's the first phone call in the morning.
I love
It's the
it.
last one at night.
That's beautiful.
And it's just it's how we do things. It's the only way to get things done.
Yeah.
You
agreed.
know, yeah. And Adrian knows my sleep schedule. He knows exactly when to call and wake me up. He knows these things. He knows when I'm going to bed. And that's not only what friends do and partners do, but it's also a trust thing.
Absolutely.
And so go and try. I'm going to close with this. This is what I'm going to close with. This is what. Let me tell you what a friendship is. Okay, Adrian is vegan. I am the opposite.
I know you are.
Of that, right? I am whatever a vegan is. Go to the other end of the earth, and there's Jimmy Church. I'm on that side of the fence, and the two of us gel. We've road trip together. How do vegans and non-vegans coexist in a car for days?
I'll show
Well, I
you.
can
It's
tell
really
you,
easy. When you sit in there, he like blocks his plates.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
with stuff, so I can't really look at like the flesh sitting on his plate.
Well, I've got news for you. My bestie, my best friend for 35 or more years is also vegan. In fact, she and her daughter own a vegan restaurant.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's okay. We get along like, thick as thieves. So anyway,
How often do you eat there?
at the restaurant, well, it's in Boston and I'm not there anymore. So when I'm in the area, I go to the restaurant. It's fabulous food. But I got to do
There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
gotta do my
All
carnivore
right.
thing.
I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that go.
Let that go. Listen, we're
I'm
gonna
gonna let that
close
go.
on this note. Speaking to Jimmy, you doing your thing, man. I do have to give it to you. I got to give you props. Into the Vortex is yet another show on
Mhm.
Gaia. We happen to
Yes.
have a clip here. One of my
Oh,
favorite
really?
episodes, by the way. Yeah. Let's take a
Okay.
look at another familiar
Wow.
face and what she has to say on Into the Vortex. Watch this.
I've come to the conclusion that we live in such a schizophrenic country because going back to World War II, I have talked with pilots who fought in World War II. They have passed, unfortunately, but I have talked with them about them being inside of a plane and having a silver disc or a cigar or a shape come, and they know it's outside their window. And they know that they are looking at something that no human has made, no pilot even understands. And when they land, there are people waiting for them in suits. You are never to talk about this, and if you do, and punishment. So this is why we are living in a schizophrenic age of 2022.
Well, there you
I've
go.
never seen that. I've never seen that.
There you go. Well,
yeah,
listen, let me just say, okay, so we know that we are filming this. We're pre-recording this on the 26th, and Jimmy will in fact be having this incredible whistleblower on his show this same evening. But you can always go back to Fade to Black. We'll have links to where you can go get this episode because it's going to be right on the heels of this incredible comment that Linda made. That was in 2022. But since this amendment to the Whistleblower Act, the little snapshot that we just saw of what Linda had to say, I know we're going to be hearing so much more of this out in the open, right?
Here, a little tidbit, a little comment. My comfort zone is live. Okay, that's it. I do it live.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we set up, and Linda's so funny. Okay, so we set up Into the Vortex is a live interview. Okay, so the show is 35 minutes. We tape for 35 minutes. There are no edits. There are no retakes. Nothing. That was my agreement with Gaia. If we're going to do this, I don't want to have an edited big production thing. No, we're going to shoot. We're going to show what the conversation did, right? Those are the rules. And I'm in the middle of taping another season right now. Man, it's 35 minutes. It's easy for me. It's fun for the crew. We're not retaking, going back, stopping the flow. No, it's 35 minutes, right? Not with Linda.
I know.
Oh
God,
no,
I know.
not with Linda. and so in front of me, everybody just picture this. In front of me, there's 10 cameras that are filming from every angle. You can see it's a 3D set, right? So we have cameras in the round. But in front of me is my main camera that I look into. This is Into the Vortex, and I'm Jimmy Church, and my guest today is. Right next to that camera is a giant digital red countdown clock. That is set to 35 minutes. Right. And so I can see it, and I can see it go down to when that thing hits 1, I look in the camera, and that's another episode of Into the Vortex. I'm Jimmy Church, and I'll see you next time. Boom, cut out. We get to Linda, and I'm watching that countdown clock, man. I'm watching it. And it's just going down to 0. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't stop this. I'm not going to stop this. And Linda and I, we shot for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I believe it. That's a tough
We just
one.
kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. There's some amazing stuff out there. I don't know. I don't watch myself, Alexis. I don't. It was kind of painful to see that, actually. So Linda's talking, and what's my word? What's my comment that I got in?
A look.
Right? Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know if there's more, if there's going to be a part 2 to that, but there was a lot of stuff but I just couldn't stop her.
That was actually, now that I think of it, because I watched the whole thing, that was an hour long, as a matter of fact.
Wow, they made it
is
an
that
hour.
how they did it? Is that how they did it? Okay.
It was. I'm going to double check, but guys, we'll also have a link to that episode. That was phenomenal. And by the way, ditto, Linda, you know we love you, girl. We know, you know how much I love you. Linda's been on the show many times. And I've actually gotten compliments from people that know Linda that say, how did you get a word in edgewise? Mm-hmm. She's got a lot to say, so it's easy to keep your mouth shut and just let her go, because she's got plenty to say. And she does have a beginning, a middle, and an end. She's always driving toward that end, but you just have to wait it out. Let girlfriend talk. So she's great. Listen, we got to wind this up. Speaking of which, we're over an hour at this point. This has been fabulous, and I thank you guys so much. Adrian, final words. What's going on, man?
Well, I think Stairway to the Stars is going on, and it's coming up November 10, 11, and 12. And we would love for you to come help us activate the Vegas Strip. You know, it wasn't built on a ley line for nothing. That's all I have to say. And
the meditation. Talk about the meditation you're going to be doing to heal that area.
On 11/11 at 11:11 a.m. We've called in all the light workers, all the people that build ancient technology, all the mediums, all the just everyone, all the people are coming.
It's gonna be fabulous.
It's important to be part of this event for numerous reasons. You can get your tickets at stairwaytothestars.com or disclosurefest.org. Not to confuse anyone, but this is going to be such an important event for all of us. Come join us. Jimmy, any closing?
Yeah, well, I actually have a very important. We have discounted rooms. Okay. You need to go. Those discounted rooms stop, oddly enough, on my birthday. So we did that on purpose, I guess, October 10th. So, and the discount rate is like a real discount. So you need to go to disclosurefest.org or stairwaytothestars.com. and get your rooms now at the discounted rate. It's very important. I mean, we're all scheduling and getting stuff done. This is one of the things that you can't delay.
Absolutely.
All right. So
Gotta have time.
go and get your rooms now before we always hear it later, the date is here and later the rates are going to go. This is like a very serious thing for me to say.
Yeah.
The money's a big deal. Yeah. Go and get your rooms now before October 10th.
We'll have all the information. Libra, hey, I knew why I loved you. That's my
I'm going to
favorite
be
time,
in Egypt. I leave to Egypt in a couple of days, and I should say return to Egypt in a couple of days, and I will be again just like last year, October 10th, my birthday, Luxor on a ship, and we're gonna throw a party, and so that's
I've done
where I'll
that
be
Nile
again
cruise.
this year.
That's amazing. We'll talk about that offline. Egypt is like my second home, by the way. We'll talk about that offline. Listen, you guys, this has been like extraordinary. Jimmy, you know how much I love you, man. Adrian, you are fast becoming one of my you're fast becoming one of my favorite people on the planet. I mean that. We met, we've been talking for a few years now, and we finally had the occasion to spend some time together at Contact in the Desert, and I enjoyed our time so much. So you can better believe I am so excited about Stairway to the Stars. Listen, Richard Dolan, Caroline Corey, David Hatcher Childress, Nick Pope, Daryl Anka, who I just had on the show, Laura Eisenhower, Stephen Bassett, Jason Quitt, and yours truly. I didn't mean to cut you out, but I had to get that lineup.
Yeah, get that out.
Yeah. Good stuff. Listen,
that's just the
tip of the iceberg. That's right.
By the way, huge announcements within the next week about some surprise special guests from another world. So tune in.
There's a lot to take in. Luckily, you can hit the pause button. That's one of the reasons why we pre-record, because there's so much to take in on Higher Journeys. You need to hit pause and then listen to it again. Listen, guys, don't hang up. I love you. You know how much I love you. Stay right there. I'm going to sign off with the Journeyers for now and say thank you so much for joining us. We're just friends having a conversation here on Higher Journeys. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to watch what's next, plus more to explore. And don't forget to subscribe to Higher Journeys.